Yes, Saturday, and you're with Dave and Eddie.
Mhm.
Fresh Black coffee, as they say in South Africa. Black. It's Black coffee. Good to be with you on Saturday. I'm just being crazy. So, yes, as Dave was saying earlier to the live audience, not the recorded audience, to say it again, we had booked County Commissioner and mayoral candidate Karen Keith to be with us here in the guest chair.
Yeah.
But she called yesterday evening and notified Dave that she can't make it.
Yeah.
So we have an empty chair, which kind of disappoints.
Yeah. And to be honest, I had texted her last night as a reminder, about 9:00 last night.
Yeah, but
And
Dave,
she's like, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't put this on the calendar. And I got a bunch of stuff on. So it wasn't like she just waited till last night to notify us.
But still,
Yeah.
this should have been an important thing to put on her calendar.
It should be.
Yeah, I would think so.
I can run a city.
Well, no, seriously, because she's running for office and she's trying to reach out to across the aisle. She's making a real push to get that Republican vote over her competitor, right? So I would make every effort I could, because you pretty much have the Democrat vote that you have. So the object is to get as much of the other side that you can. So anyway, we'll see how that goes. And then we'll also see if Monroe Nichols forgets next week.
Yeah. Now we have to start a little later tomorrow for him. I mean, next Saturday. He's got a commitment in the morning, the Boo Ha Ha parade, which is a parade started by Karen Keith when she was head of the Brookside Association.
Boo Ha Ha.
Yeah, it's a Halloween thing, family thing, but it's Saturday morning, the last Saturday before Halloween. And she, Monroe said, I can be there like 1. So those of you wanting to watch us live next Saturday.
The good news is that 1:00 will work next week.
Okay.
It wouldn't work this week.
Yeah.
Why?
Eddie's got something.
No, Texas OU is.
That's right.
At 2.
Yes, we have our prayer.
Or OU Texas, as it's called here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Big game. First matchup, as they're both now in the SEC.
Yeah.
The SIC conference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see, because Texas historically has been pretty much owned at the OU Red River shootout, right? Rivalry. And they're number 1 right now in the rankings. You know, number 2 and number 3 in the rankings are playing each other today.
Georgia and Alabama. Oh, no. Alabama and Georgia and
Ohio State. Ohio State is at Oregon.
Oh, at Oregon. Oregon is
they're number 3.
Really?
But number 2 is Ohio State.
See, I don't know how Oregon is there, because they just barely beat somebody that's not very highly ranked a couple of weeks ago.
Was that USC?
No, not USC. Yeah. It was it was Iowa or someone in the Big Ten, some other traditional Big Ten school.
Right. But for whatever reason, Oregon's number 3, Ohio State's number 2. But and who does Oregon have for quarterback? The former
Dylan
Gabriel.
Dylan Gabriel.
And he's looking good. So you got that going on. OSU, I will tell you right now, Oklahoma State is going to lose today.
Ooh.
It'll be their 4th loss in a row.
Ooh, who are they playing?
They're playing at BYU.
BYU.
Right?
Yeah, it's tough going to Utah. Utah and Wyoming. No. Wyoming is really weird one. That's what really got you, because it is a 1.5 miles high. It's like 8,000 feet.
Laramie, yeah.
Yeah.
I've got a brother that lives out there and goes to those games. But anyway, after today, Oklahoma State might win out the rest of their games and end up 7-4. But I don't think they're going to win on the road today at BYU.
Yes, there's one game on that schedule, though, that
Yeah, I know. They got tech coming up. And
oh, you know what? It's going to be guns up versus pistols firing.
Yeah.
It's funny because both sides are going to be doing this stuff, Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of teams falling, Southern Cal, USC, went from number 11 in the AP to off of the top 25 last week. USC. Dropped from number 11 to no longer ranked.
But that was their second loss.
Oh, yeah. But it's to drop that far.
But, it was so weird. Both games were just like last minute and minor losses, But if you lose, you lose. I mean, that's what happened. They're going to have to swim or sink or swim or whatever they say. He's going to have to start winning. Otherwise, you can't stay at the top.
Yeah.
It's funny. I have to mention something. Texas Tech came up with the guns up, and then OSU came up with the pistols firing. But what's funny, that's not the point I really want to make here today. There was some game where a guy went into the end zone, and he did this, and they threw a flag for him doing this because it was seen as a violent gesture. Yeah, because it was causing people to think about gun violence or something like this.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, well, what are they going to do at the Texas Tech OSU game when everybody is doing this? both sides, you got 50, 60,000 people. And the mascots, actually, both mascots are wearing pistols, Well,
whatever happened to the days of sticks and stones may break my bones, words will never hurt me?
Yeah, those are gone, because words now are very offensive to people.
Bullying, and bullying is, felony, right?
Yeah,
they want you to think so.
Yeah, in the old days, a bully, you get your big brother or your friends to take care of the bully. Yeah,
and we're going to get into that, the global fascism and suppressing the free speech. That's one of the things. Elon Musk has some news. The founder of Telegram went to prison.
Yeah. Isn't that weird? In France.
Yeah. Facebook. China still won't allow Facebook. Mark Zuckerberg couldn't kowtow enough to get China to let Facebook in. And it's just, it's a global play to use fascism. That means private industry, but heavy regulation by the government, controlling the chosen few big players. And it's just a roundabout way of Marxism, socialism, except it's through and commerce.
Right. That's what people don't understand. They're being fooled. That essentially, and this is what the Democrat Party is doing in America. They're dividing the nation into two groups, essentially. You have the haves and the have-nots. And the haves want to grow the have-nots to make the have-nots be totally reliant on the haves. And it's very difficult to escape from the have-nots to the have group. So the haves become bigger and bigger and bigger, and they're shrinking the middle class.
Yeah.
That's why the tax laws are not to get the rich. You cannot, you can't tax the uber rich enough to ever get their riches. And the powers that be know this because they need the uber rich to enrich themselves. It's a weird thing to understand, but the uber rich are the ones that keep them in power. In Russia, what do they call them? When we have them here, there's the
bourgeoisie.
Well, yeah, you got but it's the oh my goodness. It's the people that the corporate money people that fund the politicians.
Oh yeah.
And It's like the wife of the mayor of Moscow who gave to Biden. Remember? Remember they gave to the Bidens all this money. Then nobody wants to talk about, but Trump is the guy who's in cahoots with Russia.
Oh, yeah.
But it's...
Hillary's the one that screamed Russia, Russia, Russia.
Right.
And she was.
The oligarchs.
Ah, yes.
We have our own oligarchs, okay? Mark Zuckerberg, the heads of... various corporations here, big money people, okay? And George Soros is the biggest oligarch. And oligarchs basically are wealthy business people who sustain the political powers. And you have them on both sides. You do have them on both sides. It's just one side is always talking about getting them. The other side tries not to mention them.
Yeah. So think back here to the mid-90s when Bill Clinton got elected. He put Hillary, his wife, in charge of healthcare. And she pushed for a pure socialist kind of National Institutes of Health, a Canadian or a Great Britain system. And it failed. But then Obama came in, and what he did was a fascist system. He set up the chosen few corporate players that everybody had to pay. And it was only certain approved policies that the government approved. They got rid of a lot of policies written by a lot of underwriters.
Oh, yeah. And health insurance companies essentially went out of business, a lot of them.
Right. But those chosen few became massive. And who writes 90% of the checks to them? The government. Because they made the little guy say, okay, we're going to give you a subsidy. And, there's a lot of people look at for my wife, $2,000 a month to insure us. I used to pay, it wasn't a great deal, but I think I only paid like $350 a month. Now that was back we were younger. I got it, but we had 3 kids and stuff.
Well, let me just throw this out real quick. With that $2,000 a month, you still have a high deductible. I bet your deductible is $6,000, hospital deductible. and the reason I say that is because we were there.
Yeah,
we were there. And you're not a high income.
No,
you're not a high income people, but it's still $2,000 deductible plus a $6,000. Yeah. $2,000 premium, and then a $6,000 deductible each. So. And that's supposed to, you're supposed to be happy with that.
Well, I get free pap smears, Eddie.
Pap smears for all.
Yeah, because there are things, I did not include in when I bought my own health insurance, truly in a free market, I got what worked for me.
Right.
Well, then they made everybody had to have essentially what's Cadillac plan.
Well, think of this. So, yeah. So what they threw in there is now your teenage or younger child can get a sexual transition, and it's covered.
God.
See, that which is like, $50,000 to $100,000,
yeah,
but it's covered. And so you are paying for it. Mm-hmm. And it's just crazy. And I fought against it. And certain people in this city, certain people that are in political office, Republicans, should I keep going? Eventually I'll name them, but no, I won't do that. Anyway, they were for this. And the reason they're for this is because they worked for these giant health insurance companies
with a blue logo on them.
Well, that's one, but no, this is more of a what they call a benefits company.
Yeah,
they do group benefits
management.
Right. So these benefits companies, they write for entire companies, so they will insure companies with 100, 200, 300, anywhere from 50, 50 on up. Okay. Well, these guys, they can write an entire corporation worth of people, and they may make $20 per person in commission because the commissions are low, but because they're writing so many, it's bundled, and their commissions, they'll end up with thousands of dollars.
They make it up in volume.
Whereas the independent agents, we went from writing individuals, and we might make, say, $50 in commission, or it depended on the amount of the premium, but it went down to like $5 a person.
Right.
What if I'm writing a person every month? The $5 really isn't worth it. So all of these independent individual people, they dropped out. And so what they did, they came up with these things called navigators. You could call an 800 number and get a navigator, some person on the phone that would take you through there. And they're hourly workers. They're just getting paid by the hour to sign you up.
Right.
Where these
they work for the exchange.
The exchange.
The healthcare
exchange.
Yeah.
The healthcare exchange. And this is one thing that John Doak, I was not a supporter of him when he was initially running, but I have to repent, because John Doak had so many right ideas. He was very much against the exchanges. In fact, he had a saying that we don't need the navigators. We have navigators. They're called independent insurance agents. Yeah. And he also fought against, I won't go into it because it's taking a lot of time, but he was against so many wrong things. Right. But this is what's happened now, that individuals in the exchanges are, a lot of them can't afford it. Unless you have now, if you have no income or very, very low income, like under the poverty level, then it works for you. Yeah. But anybody with a sustainable income, you're hurting.
I have to actually change that a little bit, because one of the biggest failures of the healthcare marketplace, the Obamacare thing, was that if you make $1 less than federal poverty rate, you get no help from the federal exchange. No cost sharing.
Right. There is a gap in there. There's a gap in
there. It's a cliff.
Well, right. But what I'm saying, there's a gap where you make a certain amount where you just fall through the cracks. Yeah. And it's something that I hope they have fixed. I don't know where they're at right now, but
no, it's still not fixed.
Oh, it's still fixed. Yeah.
Especially if you or someone in your household is because of a disability getting Medicaid. The federal government, and let's say they're getting, say, SSDI. The federal government does not consider that income. So they will say, well, you guys are below the poverty rate, because they won't include that monthly disability check. But the state says, no, you don't get to be on Medicaid because you make too much, because we're going to include that SSDI check.
Okay, right. Well, that's a little different situation. Yeah,
right. But there's that, and then here's the other thing, Eddie. Go to the top end. Is it at double that you're cost sharing? If you double the poverty rate, or is it triple? But if you're 62 and you make, I think last time I checked, it was like $55,000, you still get half your health insurance paid. But you make $1 more than that, you get none of it paid. So there's a cliff at each end.
Yeah, I don't know the scale, because it does change, and
right. But it's got a cliff at each end of it. I did a deep dive on it back 10 years ago when this came out, and I was like, God, who wrote this catastrophe?
Yeah, what I do with my clients, I tell them to go to MediShare. You can contact MediShare. Yeah. And which is a Christian healthcare share.
Yeah, there's actually a few of them out there.
Yeah, there are, right. And why I like MediShare. They're the oldest and largest, and it really works for people. Everyone I've sent there so far that's taken it has been happy with it.
Yeah, blogger friend of mine, Jameson Fott, young man, he owns, he and his dad run a carpet cleaning company, and he says this worked great for them.
Oh, everybody I've ever talked to has worked great. Yeah. My wife was actually on it. I got on Medicare, and then my wife wasn't there yet.
You robbed the cradle, didn't you?
Yeah, for 2 years.
Okay.
She's 2 years behind me. Yeah. it's a short cradle.
I was trying to be nice to you.
I know. But anyway, but for that 2 years, she was on it and she loved it and it worked really well. So if people call me and they want me to get them on one of the exchanges, or I usually tell them, just call. I call this number.
Yep.
And they take care of you over the phone. And it's easy. Look, it's metashare.com.
All right.
Metashare.com.
No fee for that.
No, I get nothing. We get nothing. You just call that number. You don't even have to give them my name. Just talk to the operator on the phone. They'll walk you through it. But
so we're talking about fascism, and I use the illustration of healthcare. That Obamacare is not socialism; it's fascism. Key difference is you still have the corporations that are getting filthy rich off of the government. Let's move to
well. Let me go beyond that, because in communist Russia, it's still the same. You got the oligarchs in Russia. You got millionaires.
Yes,
and they're still the millionaires are paying the fat
more
cat.
so now than under the Soviet government.
Yeah, in a sense, but it never goes away.
Right.
For example, a lot of people in the news, you hear about Odessa. Mm-hmm. Odessa is in Ukraine. Mm-hmm. It's part of Ukraine. It's the farthest south, and it's on the
Black Sea.
Beautiful. Mm-hmm. It's where all the communist Russians and former Soviet Union had their getaway castle.
The Crimea's down there.
Crimea, exactly. It's in Crimea, and it was they have these beautiful, beautiful estates, and it's kind of like Lake Como of the Soviet. Okay, and it's probably still where the Yugoslavia.
Now, I hear it's called Crimea because the Crimea River goes through there, hence the term Crimea River. Okay.
Oh yeah.
We don't feel sorry for you, rich bourgeoisie.
Probably a lot. Probably a lot of crime involved there too.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's where those oligarchs all spent their money and were having castles and big giant estates and stuff like that. So
that's actually where Gorbachev was when the coup occurred. He was under house arrest in Crimea.
Right.
And it was Yeltsin that basically put down the coup. Mm-hmm. And then Gorbachev come back, and Yeltsin says, "No, I'm in charge here."
Yeah, but anyway, without getting too far afoot, but this is where Democrats want to take us.
Yeah, but what I wanted to get to, I was using healthcare as an example of fascism in America. But when the car companies collapsed in 2008, General Motors, now Ford saw it coming. They got their own financing. But General Motors was completely collapsed, and Obama rescued them with Congress with this huge bailout. And then at the end there, they said, see, they paid it all back. General Motors? No, they didn't. What happened was Obama forgave this massive multi-million-dollar tax bill, and instead of paying their taxes, they just paid back the loan and said, see, no, Obama gave them that money by forgiving a tax bill.
Didn't a similar thing, though, happen with Chrysler and the K car?
Well, yes, that was a bailout back in the early 80s.
Right.
And
with Nixon. I mean, not Nixon, Reagan, right?
Reagan, or it might have been the end of Carter's.
Was it the end of Carter? It was one of them.
Yeah.
With the K car. What was his name? The Chrysler?
Lee Iacocca came in. Uh-huh. That was part of the deal. They just had to get rid of the old bunch that didn't know how to make anything but this massive boat. That was it was how many gallons per mile. And anyway, but here's the thing. What Obama got out of that deal was, hey, you're going to create an electric vehicle. It's called the Chevy Volt. Have you seen any on the road lately? No, they're lousy. Yeah. And it's the people that actually kept using them put a gasoline powered generator in the trunk, so that when the battery went dead and you're halfway home on the interstate, you have to start up the generator to charge up your battery to get home.
Yeah, no, it's true. Yeah. They yeah, it's when government gets involved, it's always trouble.
Yeah. Now, see, that was government subsidy to develop a car, whereas if you really want a nice electric vehicle, you buy a Tesla.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Tesla was truly private enterprise, built that. Yes, there are tax credits that were available to all kinds of car manufacturers, but they actually did it right.
Yeah. It's interesting that the one thing that works right is the one that's under assault by the government and the media and everything, because he's not playing the game. He's not playing the game, but they're still moving on. Chevy and their EVs, Ford and their EVs.
Yeah.
They're all, and there's another one though, Polaris. Polaris is the other EV company that seems to be doing all right.
Now, is that the same Polaris that made the snowmobile? Probably is.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, they also make off-road vehicles, all-terrain.
It may be.
Yeah.
But there's a Polaris EV, and they're fairly. I just saw an ad where you can lease one for, I think it's like $500 a month or something. But it's Cadillac quality.
Yes.
You can get the Cadillac quality. Now I don't know how many miles it will go.
Yeah.
My son has, and then he got my daughter, his sister, to get a Tesla. They both, and so I've actually been able to ride in one. And the kids love it. It has really neat features. The only thing I don't like, they all look the same. I mean, it's like, it's like watching a 21-22 movie, a movie about the future. Yeah. Where all the cars are the same. Yeah. That's the only thing I don't like about them.
Yep.
But unless you're buying the really high-end Teslas, they have some really high-end ones. I really like the look. They're real sporty looking. Yeah. But the basic Tesla, they're pretty cookie cutter.
Yeah, I still agree with T. Boone Pickens. He said we really ought to be pushing gas-powered, natural gas.
Natural gas, right? Yeah, right.
Compressed air.
Or hydrogen.
Well, yeah, but the natural gas is something we don't need to rebuild the technology. Sure. I mean, we just already got it there. It's the cleanest fossil fuel there is to burn. And Honda Civic already, they've got a car that's designed to be retrofitted. Larry Williams, good friend of yours, mine, he resells compressed CNG vehicles. CNG, yeah. And he drives, that's all he drives. Has for the last 10 years. Loves them. It was really good when the cost of natural gas was way down. He said, yeah, I'm only paying 80 cents a gallon. Natural gas has gone up in price. But, my middle son, he bought a Toyota hybrid. What was it, Toyota called?
Camry, Corolla.
He calls it his Yoda. The Toyota Prius.
Toyota Prius. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's great. He says, it's still gasoline, but
it's both. Yeah.
But he said, you run out of gas, your battery will still get you down to the station.
Right. And actually, doesn't it? I think it charges from running. Yeah. Like while you're running.
Right. It's not a plug-in at night.
Right. It recharges its battery while it's running.
Yeah. Yeah. And so
it's just freaky though. It's free. Well, I guess it's like all of them, but it's weird that you have no sound.
Yeah. When you first start going.
Yeah. And it's like, being in an old electric bumper car or something where just,
or golf cart. Actually, golf cart's a little noisier. But yeah. I mean, yesterday I was working with my son. We had to leave. He's going out. And I hear the engine start up when he's half a block away. It is very quiet.
Yeah.
Very
quiet. Yeah. But the big feature with my son's Tesla is for the kids, because it has a TV screen in there, a giant screen.
Yeah.
And the kids don't ever want to get out of the car. Like if they go shopping or they go anywhere, the kids want to stay because they can watch anything. Yeah. They can watch TV on their screen in the car.
Yeah.
And it's got all TV channels, radio channels. Oh, and the coolest thing is when you're driving, it will show you while you're going down the road, it will show you every vehicle in front, behind, and on the side of you.
Yeah.
So you see everything that's around you.
Yeah, it's essentially driverless.
Yeah.
They don't, for liability reasons, they don't. But I was on the Turner Turnpike going to Oklahoma City a couple of years ago, and I saw a guy fading off, nodding, sitting behind the wheel in his Tesla. And the Tesla's basically driving, and he's, kind of half faded off. And I'm like, oh my God, this is freaky. But, and I mean, a lot of this technology and all these bells and whistles, like having the TV screens out, any cars, you can get those add-ons. And a lot of vehicles have these accident prevention things. Like I was in a rental car going up to Minnesota, and all of a sudden, it sensed something in the road and it hit the brakes for me.
Yeah. That's kind of, my car does that, and it'll start screaming, and the big red light flashes, and it'll brake.
Yes.
But, it's annoying kind of, because to me, the car's not that close that it thinks I'm getting ready to rear end.
Right.
So,
and particularly if you're weaving in and out of traffic in that, because it's sensing how fast is that car going, how fast are we going.
Right. And if I have autopilot, or not auto, what do you call it? Cruise control on, it's annoying, because if I'm on a long road trip, to save gas, your cruise control really is good, because it'll save you gas mileage. Mm-hmm. But every time it gets behind a slower car, it slows you down.
Yeah, I know.
Way, about 50 feet behind. And then you're sitting and you're just stuck, and so then you have to actually hit the gas again to get it go around or whatever.
So we're going to something else. And I want you, Eddie, to put on your city council candidate hat for this. Okay. I looked at our city budget, particularly police force. And as best I can tell, better than 3/4 of our law enforcement budget for the city has to do with traffic issues, and then I look at the revenue the city brings in from traffic citations. It's quite a bit. And they've always used those two to justify each other, that, okay, we do these citations because, it's paying for the cops that actually protect public safety. What happens, Eddie, if we go to driverless cars and everybody's all of a sudden following the law? We got to lay off 3/4 of our police force if we're not getting revenue.
Right. That's why we have to start now looking at different models for funding our police.
And reassigning our staff where they're no longer needed in law enforcement, to really cracking some theft rings and, crimes, and actually violent crimes. And maybe we actually have some money to protect the people from crime.
Yeah. It's such a multifaceted situation, as you know, I think I've talked about it before. My uncle that I lived with in Philadelphia, he was on the police force for 50 years, basically. And then not 50, I'm sorry, 40 some years. And then he's passed away now. But anyway, he worked undercover. He was a beat cop in Philly, and then he worked on drugs and vice. And then he ended up retiring. He was a sergeant. But anyway, he passed away. But so I learned to live in a cop's home and everything. Yeah. And man, he just worked just horrible hours. I mean, in Philadelphia, he was almost killed a couple of times undercover and all. But so I really feel for the police, but it's a tough situation, because I think this is where city council and the mayor's office and everything is so important, the laws we make. So, for example, right now, we've created this environment with the homeless situation and vagrancy. And we're bringing more and more of these people in. And you've got that. And then with a lot of areas, the school situation, a lot of truancy going on, and kids dropping out and certain poverty situations. And things will start spiraling down. And of course, when that happens, crime increases. And so right now we're about 140 in that neighborhood officers down for our current needs. So we need more revenue. So where do you get the revenue? You either get it through taxes or you get it through writing tickets or whatever. But what are we doing? My competitor and others are spending a ton of money on things like the Performing Arts Center, museums. For example, the Gilcrease Museum, they were supposed to renovate it.
It's been years since they shut it down for.
Well, you know, they're supposed to just renovate it, but what they do, they tore it all the way down. They almost doubled the cost of they originally budgeted for it.
Why does that not surprise me, Eddie?
And now with inflation and everything, Bidenomics.
Oh, the building prices, building materials costs.
It's that much more again.
Yeah.
It was, I think, 70, 80 million that they were budgeting for. Now it's well over 100, 120 million or more. And this is the type of thing. And so, but, you know, my feeling, I've talked about this, that it should be a private thing anyway.
Thank you, Eddie. How many years has it been shut down? It's been a few years now, right?
Yeah.
Have we survived as a city without the Gilcrease? Can we survive? Is there any way we can make...
How many people even know that the Gilcrease Museum has not been in operation?
Right. Meanwhile, the Philbrook is charging people to come in, and I don't think we're giving any tax money. I think they get an exemption from sales tax on tickets for entry.
Yeah.
Because we consider it educational, and we do that for the aquarium.
And I'm not against museums and so forth, but I think they should stand on their own.
Right.
You know, my thing with the PAC is another one. You know, she wants to give $10 million to renovate the PAC.
Your opponent.
My opponent wants to give $10 million to the PAC. She's on the opera board.
Well, you got to take care of your own, Eddie.
Opera singer, right. So these are the type of things, and I'm not saying it just because I'm running or whatever, but these are things that places that money is going where it could be going to police and fire.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not rocket science.
You know, I talked to some folks up here, Regency Park subdivision, about a mile from here. And that main entrance off Mingo into their subdivision it's like Beirut Airport bombed out because all the potholes and constantly filling. And their housing value, Eddie, this is the important thing. Their private property housing value's gone down because of the front entrance.
Yeah. Well, yeah, just in
general. Curb appeal is shot before they even get to the house.
Just right here.
Yeah.
Memorial.
Yeah.
The center of the street.
Yeah.
Pothole. And every 3 months or so, there's a crew out there dumping tar and gravel in it. And you don't want to go down there because it's going to come up on your car, you know, and I don't want to get off in that. No, but back to your thing, as far as police, we've got funds that are being utilized in other areas that could be used for this. Yeah. We're using it. We just, you know, building it. We're building an 80-unit homeless shelter
because we care.
Yeah, you know, we're building an 80-unit. As you joke, but really that is what they're trying to say.
Yeah, for people who aren't from here or don't live here, they're just passing through, vagrants.
Right. And what I always say, what you feed grows.
Yeah.
The more you feed it, we're going to have more. We need another 80 unit. Next thing you know, And of course, they don't put it in places. They don't put it down at Utica Park.
Oh, no.
No, they don't put it in the Utica Park area. They put it in North Tulsa, or they're going to put it in West Tulsa or in East Tulsa, and you're not going to put it in South Tulsa, because I guarantee my constituents aren't going to want one there.
They put them in my neighborhood, 61st Peoria.
Well, West Tulsa, correct, right, exactly. And but we've got to start saying no. I think I've talked about this when I came to Tulsa in 1992. One of the things that attracted me was just a wonderful, beautiful place, driving down Riverside.
Yeah.
I loved it. And guess what? There wasn't even a gathering place.
Yeah.
And I love driving down Riverside.
Survive with that?
I know. I don't know how, what made me come here with no gathering, no BOK center, no, none of the amenities that we talk about we need for people to be attracted to Tulsa.
So here's what you did have, though. In the 70s, they did build a performing arts center. We were awash with oil money. Since then, here's the interesting thing. You look at county government. Now that's an overlay on here, because we've got massive funding for career tech, for Tulsa Tech, and for TCC. So much money that if you're a Tulsa County citizen, your kid's tuition's free, basically. Okay, they got to. Well,
statewide, your kid's tuition's free if you sign that, and they get a 2.5. Graduate with a 2.5 average, it's tuition free at any state university.
Well, that's a state thing.
Right.
The Tulsa Achieves is a special program for Tulsa County,
right? And
my kids all went there for free on this thing, and
to TCC,
yes,
or Tulsa Tech,
right?
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's basically free, and they just keep building and building. They got a performing arts center down here, Van Treese, at the Southeast campus, way better than performing arts center downtown, and free parking right outside the door, and all this. And it's like now we're duplicating these quote needs, and so do we need the Van Treese or the PAC?
And to be honest,
we definitely don't need two.
No, and to be honest, when we arrived back in '92, the concerts were at the Mabee Center, and I remember. Now, yes, the BOK can hold twice as many as the Mabee Center could, but they just did 2 shows.
But performing arts centers for highbrow arts,
right?
Broadway plays, opera. Yeah. The Philharmonic.
But like you said, you can do them there at the community.
Sure.
All right.
In fact, my oldest son, used to be Tulsa Boy Choir. And there was this big United Way kickoff event. And the Philharmonic was down in the orchestra pit. My son, the Tulsa Boy Singers, was up there singing, and all of a sudden keyboard didn't work. And all of a sudden they had to hit the button, and up comes the opera. The whole opera pit lifts up with everybody in it, and the accompanist played on theirs. And it's just, it's amazing what that.
No, I've been to an orchestra, Tulsa orchestra at the TCC.
Yeah, and so I'm saying we don't need both. Meanwhile, you got other aspects of county government, like our jail, that I'm having to volunteer just to hopefully, keep us from having $10 million lawsuits like we had with Elliot Williams case, heinous death. But this is the kind of the crazy thing on funding. You've got certain aspects of county government that are awash in money, and other aspects that are far more key to function: sheriff, jail, courthouse, that were pathetic.
Yeah. Now, yeah. Right.
But that's county government.
That's county.
You're focused on city.
Right.
But why should the city be doing a performing arts center when we could sell that to fund a bunch of things, and it gets on at least the county taxpayer rolls, and we aren't being predatory against the Brady Auditorium, Kane's Ballroom, and some of the other places.
Well, yeah, not only that, but the various functions and things at the PAC, they need to be self-sufficient.
Yeah.
The opera is over $1 million in the red.
Yeah.
So, it either needs to be in the black or they need to do something else.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
The ballet, the opera, the PAC has become a highbrow entertainment item.
Yes. And we are charging sales tax to single parent families to subsidize it.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so either the people who want that type of entertainment pay for it.
Yeah.
Or, and I mean, there's certain things the city can do, but to me, it's not a priority when you have streets, you have police and fire, first of all, and then you've got your streets and bridges and infrastructure that is in need. We're looking for ways of attracting businesses and people here to town. And who wants to come and drive on our streets? Yeah. That's the thing that bothers me.
If we even have the street lights on, Eddie, that's the crazy thing.
Yeah.
We start shutting off street lights.
Yeah, but Dave, even during the day, maybe it's a good thing to have the lights on so they can't see what the streets look like. No, seriously. We need to get our streets and neighborhoods. I mean, Regency Park over here, okay? That's a really beautiful neighborhood. When you drive in the park, that park right there, oh my goodness, that is just, to me, that should be high dollar real estate. Yeah. Because you've got recreation, right? You don't even have to drive to
the convenience,
the gathering place or whatever.
Every shopping center's within 5 minutes.
Exactly. The freeways, you got both. You got the BA, you got the 169. You can just get anywhere in town really quickly.
Or out of town.
Get out of town.
Boom.
Yeah. But that has been left to languish. Yeah. While we're focusing on other areas.
Yeah. So this is a problem is, the kinds of things that we fund. Now you were talking about an issue coming up about the state legislature finally passed a law, just something that wasn't legal, to pass bond issues for daily operation things. They said only for law enforcement. They were dealing with some municipalities having a crisis where they wouldn't even have a legitimate public safety response if they didn't do something quick. And now we've got people diverting funds that they raised through that. And now there's a bill that's going through the legislature to try to make it illegal for them to say, hey, we need it for the fire department, but then using it to run a swimming pool or a city park or something like that. And I don't know, have you heard something going on that?
Yes, I think that happened, what was it, in 2021? Yeah. And it was supposed to... It's like this. It reminds me, take it to the federal level, earmarking. I used to be very much, and it's a conservative issue, earmarking. There are, generally the conservative opinion is to be against earmarks. But the late Senator Inhofe gave a speech or spoke to the Jenks Chamber of Commerce one morning, and I happened to be at this breakfast. I didn't know the man, had never met him, and I just happened to be there. And he explained how earmarks work, that we send $1 to Washington, and then we have to get appropriations and designate exactly what that dollar is to be used for so we can get it back. Yeah. And so at the time, we were only getting 63 cents back for every dollar that we were sending up. But with his work and others in our House and state Senate group, we were able to, through earmarks, get it up to over 90 cents on the dollar back.
Yeah.
Which is right, because they do need, in the tax money, they do need money federally. They deserve to have some money, and they need to run the federal, Army, Navy, Air Force.
Yeah, I get that.
National thing. So anyway, but Senator Inhofe was able to get us over 90 cents back for every dollar, but that was done through earmarks. He said, if you don't earmark, what happens, it allows the president to use that 40 cents for whatever he wants to use it for.
Exactly.
And that's what you don't want to happen, and particularly with certain presidents.
It's the way they pay off political bills do.
Right. And one of the chief perpetrators with that was Robert Byrd.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they would have bridges going to nowhere, like unfinished bridges. I think they're still unfinished.
Okay. That's a mountainous state that has a Coast Guard station.
Right.
Think about that, folks. Yeah. Coast Guard in the mountains.
Yeah, in the mountains. Right. Yeah. They would get all kinds of appropriations and so forth. But anyway, that's the same that's going on on a state, county, and city level. That
I remember,
we have to watch. We just have to be vigilant all the time. I mean, it's crazy. The average citizen, including myself, never looks at this stuff. We don't think about it.
But the problem you're talking about federally, you listening to Inhofe, it's even worse in our state. And here we go. I'm going to bring up term limits, because as soon as we really let term limits take effect in Oklahoma, the state agencies, the deep state, if you will, the administrative state, became far more powerful, and they would just ride out certain individuals, figure, you know what, at best he's here 12 years, unless through our union money, we don't find an opponent to run him out, because he's making life hell for our agency. And the thing they hate the most is the legislature putting earmarks. You almost never see earmarks in our state budget. And that's a problem. I went to Capitol and really tried to push for it in mental health, because 80% of the mental health budget was they were just writing checks to private corporate healthcare facilities, Family and Children's Services, Red Rock, Grand Lake Mental Health, Creoaks, those people. And the problem was the cops and the courts couldn't access those beds. So all of a sudden we're down to where Veneta used to have 2,600 beds. We shut it down. The whole state now has only 349 beds, which means a cop can't really divert a psychotic person from jail and say, we need to get you a mental health assessment here. Instead, they're just booking them in jail to get them off the streets. And we're using our jails as our default mental health facilities. And I said, we just need to line item, the state shall maintain X number of beds run by the state, because that's what Sheriff Regalado needs. That's what Judge Pace needed. And this is the problem. The legislature lacked the gall, the intestinal fortitude to push through and say, you're going to run this many state-run beds. The one facility we have after closing Veneta was Griffin Memorial down there in Norman. And the State Department of Mental Health was renting out 60% of it to corporate providers and collecting a rent check that they don't even have to report to the legislature. They just pocket it in their agency to spend on whatever they want. And meanwhile, the taxpayers who paid for that building don't get to use it.
Mm-hmm. No, you're right. There's so many things that we can do. And, as I said, we need to re-look and revamp the way we fund our police and fire.
Yeah.
There's so much more we can do.
Yeah.
I've talked about it before. I think, to properly fund them in ways of, and I've met with the FOP, and I want to continue to speak with them about bolstering their numbers.
Yeah.
And helping them be able to properly deal with one of the things that they are opposed to, and I am opposed to, and you as well, and so many people, the neighborhood, is this homeless situation. Mm-hmm. We're just we have invited, and we're inviting more and more. Now, all of a sudden, we've just basically legalized panhandling. Every corner, all the major up at Woodland Hills, and it's moving down other intersections now with the green vests. Have you noticed them?
Yeah.
On the corners, every corner now has these guys and women out there with the green vests on. Mm-hmm. So now anybody can go out there with a green vest and stand there and just freely beg.
So here's what happened this morning. Glad you brought this up. I'm right outside of Southern Hills Country Club, poshest country club in Oklahoma. And there's a guy there in the center median, green vest, no sign, no hard luck story, no claim to anything. He looked healthy. Gosh, I saw him running after a car to get, and I'm like, and idiots are just handing wads of money out the window outside of Southern Hills Country Club.
Yeah, that's the crowd that probably would do it. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're not giving because he has a need. They're giving to assuage their own guilt.
Yes. Yeah.
Because guilt works.
That white guilt.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're seeing that they're playing it in presidential politics right now.
Yeah. It's crazy. And we are feeding it. As my motto is, what you feed grows. And if you feed the homeless situation, it grows.
Yeah.
And we need to cut it out, and we need to use the professional organizations that know what they're doing with them. Mm-hmm. John 3:16, Salvation Army, and others that can tell the scammers.
Yeah.
And the people who don't need the help. And basically you cut it off until they realize Tulsa's not a place that's going to just let us freely roam and do whatever we want to do, move on. Mm-hmm. And we've got to do this. We need to shrink the homeless situation that we can truly focus on the people that have real needs. There are families out there that need real help. Mm-hmm. And as they all say, they need a hand up, not a handout. And we can't focus on the people that need the hand up because we're busy feeding the people that are just asking for a handout. And it's got to stop. It's got to stop.
The only ones out there, the only kind of condition out there that I truly have a lot of sympathy for is the people in a psychotic crisis. And those aren't the people you want to open your car window for. Okay. They need professional intervention.
So you're basically saying, don't open your car window for anybody.
No. Larry Burkett, very trusted financial planner, Christian man. He said, never give to the street corner panhandler. But he said, do give to your community's relief shelter.
Yeah, exactly.
Give to them. John 3:16 is one that just has this great thing that he said, here's some tickets. We try to give these people, call this number, a van will come pick you up, bring you in for a meal, a shower, whatever, and phone call and get you where you want to go. And so you got that intervention thing, that attempt to connect with family support. I'm a big believer that family is where the government needs to turn to solve a lot of this. Invest in families to take care of their own. That's part of my thing with NAMI, is helping people, because I've seen the difference it makes when a family really is utilized, has the tools to care for their loved one in crisis, to get them stable, to get them back to productive.
Well, that's the way it should be anyway. That's the way
exactly
it should be.
So I'm saying that's the only scenario that I see. And then it should only be those who are from your community, that this is where they belong. You need to be back in the community where you have the community support, the family support, not running away from your problems.
Well, plus the community knows you.
Yeah.
See, this it's so funny because you're saying everything that you're confirming everything that I believe that it should be family, neighborhood, church, and community because it starts in a smaller circle. Yeah. Those who know you.
Those who know you best.
Right.
And best able.
And not only best able, but those are the ones who should be the first ones to bear the responsibility of taking care. What is it? Isaiah 64 or 65, God's chosen fast.
58.
Okay, 58.
It's one of my favorite chapters in the Bible.
I wasn't even close. But anyway.
You got Isaiah, right? Well, hey, we added the numbers, right?
Yeah. It's like playing horseshoes in a, what do you call that game where you, then when it was the
cornhole?
Throwing a horseshoe in a corner.
That's all right.
But anyway.
The chosen fast.
Yeah, God's chosen fast is to not hide from your own flesh.
Yeah.
In other words, first, you're supposed to take care of your own family. Yeah. Because they're the ones who know you and you know. And so, and then it's your neighborhood and the church body, because they're the one, they know you're not playing games. You're not playing games with those people. They know if you're just trying to use them for money or you really want help or need help.
Yes. We're not saying don't be charitable.
Exactly.
We're not saying don't be generous, be compassionate. We're saying don't be played.
Hallelujah. Go.
That's all.
That's all.
That's all there is to it.
Yeah. Give. I mean, give and give generously.
Yeah.
But don't just give foolishly.
Yeah.
That's the thing, because what you're doing there in giving foolishly.
But people give to assuage their own guilt or to feel better about themselves rather than giving to meet the need.
It's the same. Yeah, it's the same. Oh man, we could spend an hour just talking about how this is the white guilt. That's what white guilt is.
We need to go there, Eddie, because Obama just played in not to white guilt, but masculine guilt.
Well, let's go there.
Yeah.
Let's go there. We're going to do a switch.
So Obama decided he was going to help out Kamala Harris, someone he really did not want to be the nominee. He fought and tried to find somebody, and then he's stuck with. And now he was lecturing men this week, particularly black men, scolding them. Because they won't support the woman. I guess
she's black woman.
Well, she's as black as Obama is, which is half at best.
Yeah, she may be less than that.
I think so.
At least Obama's half is African.
That's true.
Hers is Jamaican, which is already diluted the race.
To say if you're Jamaican, you're black, is like saying you're Canadian, you're Eskimo.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, you can't pigeonhole everybody as just one homogenation.
No, you're right. And in fact, and then on top of that, she's Indian.
Yeah,
East Indian,
half Indian,
half East Indian.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. So, but they're scolding, and that's the crazy thing. I saw a clip of Jesse Jackson talking, thinking he was, his mic wasn't hot. Last time he saw Obama talking down to black men, because Obama does that. And he plays his guilt. You were showing me a video this morning of trying to assuage men, that if you aren't willing to support a woman to be a leader, you're not a real man. Really? Like a man can't be a leader? And this is the crazy thing. We need to put a sign out that says your Jedi guilt tricks don't work on me.
Yeah, exactly.
We just need to say that, because
here's the funny thing about it. Okay, these same tricks that they're trying to play that tell us men aren't real men because we won't support a women are the same men who want men to be playing women's sports.
Yeah.
Supporting women by having men beat up on women, in whatever sport it is. Track and field is one. We talk about swimming is one, but they don't talk about boxing against women, wrestling against women, playing basketball against women and injuring women. I mean, this is the crazy thing. So don't give me that stuff. Don't try to lay a guilt trip on me that we don't care about women. Yes, we care about women. We care about our daughters, and we care about them very highly. You're just trying to use women. That's what you are. You're just trying to use women to pursue your own goals. You don't really care about women. So stop that.
Yeah. Okay, Eddie, I just posted it.
What did you post?
Your Jedi guilt tricks don't work on me.
Oh, okay.
We just have to, folks, you just need elections coming. And believe me, these last 2.5 weeks, they are going to use all kinds of guilt tricks.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're desperate.
Well, black men, I mean, I have to say, black men are really some of the smartest people out there.
But they're under attack.
Oh, they are
by black women.
Yeah.
They are. I mean, who helped them? It was LBJ.
Yeah.
He made it possible for the woman to kick the man out of the house and get a government check to replace him.
That's true. That's true. That is true. But
black men have faced an identity crisis that's mostly responsibility of our government.
But to their credit, black men are rising. Black men are standing up, and black women that respect themselves are listening, and they're welcoming it because they want. There's that saying, I want a strong black man. They're always talking about they want a strong black man, but then at the same time, you find these same women that talking about they want that strong black man. They want to rule over that strong black man.
The Fannie Willis type.
Yeah, right, exactly. But
remember how she got a senses. Don't emasculate the black man.
Yeah, right.
Well, she did.
Yeah, exactly. Totally. And so
she bought the black man.
She's just faking it. So, but the true, honest, and loving black woman is waiting for the rise of the black man to stand up again, because it's a game being played by the white liberal.
Yeah.
Malcolm X.
Yeah.
He said the worst enemy of the black person is the white liberal.
Yeah.
He said we have problems with the white conservative, but the worst is the white liberal.
Yeah.
I mean, you can look it up on YouTube. I'm not making this up. This is Malcolm X, originally a black Muslim, and then originally with the Nation of Islam, but then he left that and tried to speak against it. But he spoke very highly, very strongly against white liberals, which are now called progressives, because he said they are the biggest enemy of the black man.
Yeah. Yeah, he says the white liberal is the worst enemy to America and the worst enemy to the black man. Let me explain what I mean by the white liberal. In America, there's no such thing as Democrats and Republicans anymore. That's antiquated. In America, you have liberals and conservatives. This is what the American political structure boils down to. I'm a Democrat or I'm a Republican. Anyway, so he goes on and on. There's no end to this, but he drives home the point. The white claiming that they are the protectorate and defender of the black man are emasculating the black man.
Right. And they want to keep them. There's so many different symbolism items that are being used. The plantation, that it's a plantation. It's a new plantation, a Democratic plantation, a liberal plantation. I like to liken it to the kennel.
Yeah.
Kennel.
Yep.
That the white liberal progressive kennel, where they have their pets. They have their black pets. These are the pampered black entertainers, athletes that play the game and spout the line of the white liberal and the white progressive. And then you have those that wake up and say, we're not doing this anymore. And they try to get away. And those are the escaped pets.
Yeah.
And so what do? They have their attack dogs. And they will send those attack dogs out to retrieve and attack those former pets that are wanting to be free and are set free. And they'll find some black person or people to go out and say, sick them, hunt them down, go get them.
Yeah.
And it's the white liberal doing this.
Yeah. So I'm trying to figure out what's going on that led Obama to insert himself in the race like this.
They're scared. They're afraid.
It's got to be, there's some internal poll numbers that we aren't seeing that are looking pretty dire.
Oh, no, they know the black community. They don't like Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
Regardless of what you think, they're not buying it. They're not buying what the Democrats and your mainstream media is selling. Here,
we've got the men pulling away more so than the women. The women are sticking with her more than the black men are.
Well, more than, but even the women, there are a lot of black women that don't like her.
Yeah, I would agree on that. So
the ones who don't watch The View.
Okay. So what happened yesterday? Trump was in blue Colorado, Denver area. Why was he there? And I thought, is Colorado in play?
Well, it could be. Colorado has recently turned blue.
10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny. I have to say this. 20 years ago, I remember Dr. Dobson moved there about 30 years ago.
Colorado Springs. That was a very conservative area.
Right. But he said that he chose it because originally he was deciding between Arizona and Colorado, but he felt Arizona was turning more liberal than Colorado was. So that's why he moved to Colorado. But then he started writing that Colorado is starting to turn more.
Yeah. You had Colorado Springs versus Boulder.
Well,
those were the two polar opposites.
But in general, he was saying the state is turning more liberal. And now it's just turned totally.
Yeah. And a lot of it is the capitulation, the Republican Party.
Well, and it's Denver. I mean, because Colorado is such a kind of a sparse state. Colorado is a lot like Oklahoma. You know, in Oklahoma, you have Tulsa and Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
But then you have, and Stillwater. It's the college towns.
But that's like Boulder versus Denver. It's a college town right outside.
Right. Well, even Denver. Well, yeah, you're talking Norman, Oklahoma State.
Exactly.
Right. So, but you have the rural areas, which are still very conservative. And so that's what's turned it. But your rural Colorado is still very conservative. It's just they don't have the numbers that Denver and Boulder have.
Right.
Same with Oklahoma.
No, what happened? Tom Tancredo got screwed over by the Republican establishment for governor, and so he ran independently. And what's the guy's name? Democrat, begins with H. He won because the Republican Party was splintered. And he just built a machine that just continued to leverage that dissension between the Tea Party, conservative, and the Republican establishment. That's it in a nutshell. But what I'm getting at, I was listening to somebody ask on Newsmax, is Colorado in play? And he said, no, but I think New Mexico is. Yeah. That's interesting.
That is.
Evidently, the internal polling numbers in New Mexico look to be even more advantageous for takeover. But guess where Trump's going this week? Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
Part of New York City.
That's today, isn't it?
I think so.
I think it's today, yeah.
Why? He's already done Long Island.
I think he thinks New York is in play.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because New York is more than New York City.
Yeah.
And more than Manhattan. I think Queens or Long Island.
Yeah.
Is
his personal appeal. Like when he was in the Bronx during that trial going on, he couldn't leave town. So he went up to Bronx and did a rally. They loved doing it. His on the ground shoe leather campaign seems to be very effective. And that, because they've known Trump for decades.
Right.
It's a family name. And a vote for Trump in Manhattan counts the same as a vote for Trump in Buffalo or Albany or Rochester. So I think maybe he sees in raw numbers, he's better off at Madison Square Garden than Rochester or Syracuse or any of that. So maybe that's part of his deal. Is he can be more effective in turning votes. Well,
and he's going to probably draw more people in Manhattan, in Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, he's already got Staten Island. he made his claim, and I think he's got Long Island because they've been voting for Republican Congress members and that. But so this is interesting. And
if he gets the Bronx,
and the impact of a Madison Square Garden thing will be felt in New Jersey, where he already had on the South Shore that beach rally.
100,000 people.
Yeah. So what I'm seeing here is incredible stuff. You don't see the Kamala Harris team going to red states. They're just trying to shore up those swing states and hope they don't lose New Mexico,
Arizona, Michigan, Wisconsin.
I think they've given up on this, on the Georgia, Arizona, North Carolina, because I don't see them really going there, investing money. Right now, they're just trying to keep the Rust Belt, the Great Lakes states. And I don't know. This could be really interesting.
Yeah, we'll see.
I'm just saying.
It's an interesting time. It really is.
It's not things that are in the news, but you can tell by their itinerary. You can tell a lot.
Yeah.
So, but it's just the Obama, he couldn't help himself. He had to go for that guilt and shame, and he pulled it on the black man.
Do you have the clip or the any of what he actually said? We should have downloaded that. While you're doing that, you looked that up. A mob of 30 looters, some armed, ransacked a freight train now in Chicago. Can you believe that? We've gone from ransacking department stores and beauty outlets and so forth in Chicago itself, that they are now attacking freight trains, and they're hauling off microwave ovens, flat screen TVs, computers, freight cars. They attacked a train. It's like the Wild Wild West. This is in Chicago with that new mayor that they have, who is probably the most liberal mayor in Chicago, and the most liberal mayor Chicago has ever had, even worse than the prior one that they had. So, I mean, it's crazy. And if the people, I don't know why they keep voting for this or that, it just, you would think that people would wake up and say enough is enough.
Okay.
So, by the way, one more thing.
Yeah.
We believe in Donald Trump. More than a dozen Medal of Honor winners, more than a dozen of the surviving Medal of Honor recipients have come together and they're endorsing Donald Trump. Yeah. So that ought to tell you something right there as far as the military goes. No matter what all these generals, all of these other people want you to believe, the men who have put their lives on the line for Donald, for this country, they all support Donald Trump. Okay. Go ahead, Dave.
All right. So Obama actually stopped by a Harris campaign office in Pittsburgh, and he's talking to staff there. That's an interesting thing. And he's concerned about their reluctance. He actually thinks they're not motivated to vote, is the way he put it. Not that they're necessarily voting for Trump. He said, I'm going to go ahead and just speak some truths if you don't mind, because by my understanding, based on reports I'm getting from campaigns and communities, that we've not yet seen the same kinds of energy and turnout in all quarters and neighborhoods that we saw when I was running. And he says, it seems to me more pronounced with the brothers. He said, anyway, he said, black men are coming up all kinds of reasons and excuses. And I've got a problem with that, because part of it makes me think, and I'm speaking to men directly, part of it makes me think that, well, you just aren't feeling the idea of having a woman as president. See, he's guilting them, calling them sexist. So, and Obama can be really effective at guilting.
Well, but see, you could tell if you looked at his demeanor, he was really ticked off. I mean, he was just really not happy. And but it was almost like he was pained to say what he was saying. Okay.
So, and they had some numbers. The Suffolk University poll said blacks, 78% of black women in Pennsylvania plan to vote for Harris. That's actually, I thought it should have been 90.
Yeah, but see,
Okay.
even with women, yeah.
But 63% of black men. So it's a drop off of 15%. But when you don't even have 2/3 of black men voting Democrat, what did Biden say? If you don't vote Democrat, you ain't black. Now they're calling the race card on, saying you aren't a real black man because you didn't vote for the master of the plantation. You might as well leave the plantation.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, Sambo and Quimbo. So Obama, Sambo, and Harris is Quimbo.
But they need 90% of the black vote.
Well, yeah, at least 95. And right now they've got, looks like
they don't have 80.
80, right.
And with men, they're barely above 60. And I tell you, it's these things when you go to the Alabama-Georgia game and there's Herschel Walker hanging out with Donald Trump. You know, Herschel's a man's man. You know, Herschel's, you know.
Well, and then you've got people like 50 Cent and so many of the other, Ice Cube,
mm-hmm.
You know, these guys that, you know, these are people that actually relate to the community.
Yeah.
Those are the important ones.
But you know what is, I think, having an impact on a lot of the urban black men is Trump's bad boy image of the law going after him.
Yeah.
And they think he's getting screwed over. They identify with him.
Right.
Because if you're in New York City and you got the stop and frisk, which I completely believe is unconstitutional, that's a violation of your right to privacy, you know. And a lot of Republicans, Giuliani included, I just think the guy just totally.
But it was Giuliani's idea.
Yes. Well, that's that law and order kind that we're talking about. I think it went way too far, and the Supreme Court said so.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when the Supreme,
it was effective, but we are in America. We are a different country.
Well, there's a lot.
We need to be a little smarter. We've got to figure out another way to achieve the same results without violating people's rights.
Yeah. I mean,
there should be another way of doing it without violating rights.
Right. But I think Trump has some ends in identifying with the urban black culture who feels like the cops have got it out for him, whether they do or not.
Right.
I'm not trying to make that claim. I'm trying to say that's how the black man sees life in, you know, urban black community.
Yeah. But that picture is so warped. It's such a warped picture because they've been, for lack of a better term, bamboozled. Their leaders have.
But what I'm saying
astray.
is, you got Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson been beating the drum on that to convince them of that.
Right. But that's one thing, though. I think it's a testament to education. Mm-hmm. As poor as education has been, more and more Black Americans are waking up. Mm-hmm. And, you know, you fooled me for so long, but it hasn't worked. You know, we're finally waking up. Your way is not working. Right. Your way is not working.
They tried to railroad Trump into prison, and instead they got him in a position where the black man identifies with him more than the Democrat woman. Mm-hmm. That's what I think has happened.
Yeah, because they're not stupid. They know. Or one of the things, Dave Chappelle, for example, mm-hmm. You've seen the routine he has where talking about, what does he call him? Juicy Smollett.
Oh, yeah. You have to refresh me on this.
Okay. All right. He's talking about this French actor, Juicy Smollett. Yeah. And the people start cracking up. Not everybody, and I'm one of those that didn't get it at first, but he's talking about Jesse Smollett.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Chicago. He was just happened to be walking down the street, mm-hmm. you know, at 2 a.m, mm-hmm. and a couple of
frigid cold night.
Yeah, right. Getting
this is Chicago cold.
Getting McDonald's at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And there were a couple of Trump supporters in that area.
Because there's so many Trump supporters in downtown Chicago.
Right. At 2 a.m. yeah. by themselves, you know, and they attacked Juicy, you know, and then, but he just made made fun of it just to show how stupid it is.
Yeah.
And so, people started looking at it and realizing, oh yeah, what did Dave said? He says, now he didn't, and on YouTube you can see it. I'm going to bleep it because I'm sure YouTube or whoever will try to find a reason to take this off the air for me saying it. But he says, the N-word was clearly lying. Yeah. He was clearly lying, and everybody knew it. And he imitates the police officers that were interviewing, and he says, yes, it was some MAGA wearing. He still had the noose around his neck, and he said there were two MAGA wearing Trump supporters that did this, and the cop goes, give us just a moment. Frank, are you getting this?
Yeah.
Two MAGA hat wearing Trump supporters at 2 a.m. in this neighborhood? Yeah. But it happened. It's one of the funniest, and the audience is just dying laughing.
Yeah.
But, he just shows how stupid the whole thing by him was to try to pretend that he was attacked by Trump. And I want to say this too. This is what I'm finding. For some reason, the gay community in particular they've been ginned up to be so afraid of and antagonistic towards the conservative politician that it's crazy that Donald Trump has never said anything against the gay community. And even in my campaign, I have been attacked and lied about by the gay community. And, in these articles and things, it's the gay community that's making up all of this weird stuff.
Why? Because you're against the arts?
That's the only thing I can think of. I mean, I haven't said, me, I don't come out and bash.
You spent decades as a concert promoter that's against the arts.
Yeah, I don't know, but for some reason they don't like me. I guess it's perception. They think that, and I don't know if we've talked about it, that my best friend growing up was gay. And what's funny, when I got saved, one of the first letters I wrote, he went to this was my friend in Philadelphia that we grew up. In fact, it was funny. Every time I went to Philadelphia, the first time to visit my aunt and uncle, the first person I called was my friend.
Yeah.
And it was so bad, my aunt and uncle, they were all afraid that I had become gay. They always have these weird looks about them, and everybody, they were all worried. But anyway, so I called my buddy and, so when I graduated, then I became a Christian. And so I wrote him a letter. His name was Rudy, my friend Rudy. Anyway, and told him I was a Christian. And this is the punchline to the story. I told him I was a Christian and my life had changed and da 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 da. And he said, "Oh, well, that's good for you. I'm glad to hear you, but we can't be friends anymore." And I said, "What? What do you mean we can't be friends anymore?" He says, "Well, you're a Christian now. I can't be a friend anymore." And I said,
"So who's the hater here?"
Exactly. I said, "What do you mean?" I said, "You're my best friend growing up. I'll always be your friend. I'll always be here for you. And, I may not be into your lifestyle, but I'll always be your friend."
Yep.
Never heard from him again.
Yeah.
I mean, that's 47, 50 years ago. So it just shows, like you said, who's the hater, who's the rejecter, that they would reject me more than I was willing to still be his friend. I may not agree with your lifestyle, but I'm not going to reject you as a person.
Yeah.
But I'm the one who was rejected.
Well, it's funny because those who are throwing around the hate
word,
are the ones actually practicing the hate.
Yeah.
Say no to hate. That's probably an indicator the person driving that car that has that bumper sticker is probably so full of hate in prejudice and assuming if you meet this criteria, you must have hate in your heart.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Obama just got done doing that, saying, you have a problem with women. You won't support a woman. You're a sexist. If you don't support her, you're sexist. I mean, you've seen black people do this all the time. When they get called on the carpet for something they do wrong in leadership, they right away pull the race card.
Yeah. And they're the ones who are attacking white people all the time. Who's calling who honky?
Yeah.
A cracker.
Okay.
Old Faye,
When you had just moved to town, when John Thompson was our superintendent, I remember when we finally got rid of him, somebody in the news said, it'll probably be 10 years before we have another black person superintendent. Because anybody who opposed him, he accused of racism. That guy was awful. And I think he went to Philadelphia to interview for the superintendent there. And while he's gone in the city, the school board voted to open up a search for a new person because the contract is going. And he come back, he didn't get that job. And they said, yeah, but we're still getting somebody new. He got fired in the midst of that.
Well, it's funny because at that time I'd become friends with the principal of McLean.
Okay.
McLean High School, which was basically, I don't know if it's still, but at that time, the worst high school in town. And he was black. And he was telling me how awful that he was, and that he was having a hard time with John Thompson, even himself. He was just undermining everything he was trying to do. This was a black principal dealing with this black superintendent.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not about race. It's about people wanting to have their way. And if you don't go with us, then they will use that race card against you.
Yeah.
That's what that's about. But yeah, no, I look at Milo Yiannopoulos, flaming gay Republican.
Yeah.
Just ultra conservative. I mean, if you can call a gay person conservative,
sure.
I mean, in every way except his sexual preference, he was conservative. I mean, he was ultra conservative, but he just had this flaming gay. In fact, he called himself the gay blank. It's an F word, but it's not that F word. But that was his tour, the gay blank tour. And I'll let you look it up. But anyway, and I mean, he became very popular. I mean, it's amazing. Republicans were flocking to him, right and left. And it was it was the gay lobby. It was the left wingers that essentially crucified the guy. I mean, they wanted to get rid of him, and they finally pulled it off and got him removed from everything, from Twitter, from Facebook. I mean, to the point he was removed from the face of the cyber world. It's amazing, and they're the ones that accuse us of hate.
He was a big supporter of Trump's economic policies. And as a conservative in dealing with government, public policy and stuff, if you're a libertarian, you really don't want the government establishing what is the culture in the morals. That's left for the private sector, the faith community in that. Right. So to a lot of people that are of a little more libertarian conservatism, I mean, many of them are devout Christians. Take Ron Paul and things. Right. They don't think the government should get involved in setting the religious norms. That's up to the people that, through other entities. And this is the problem we have with Democrats doing social engineering through the power of government and the power of the purse. So I didn't have a problem with Milo, what he does in his private life. What was the guy's name? Was U.S. ambassador to Germany.
Rick Grinnell. He's still popular. He's on Newsmax every night.
Yeah, I heard him this morning. we're talking government policy. It's one of the best quotes I ever heard from George H.W. Bush when somebody asked him, would you hire someone, a gay person, to work at the White House? And he said, how would I know he's gay?
Yeah.
I
don't ask.
Yeah, these are, what you do in your private life, as long as it's not criminal activity harming somebody else. And really, that to me is the definition of crime, is causing harm to someone else.
Right. Well, the Army, they had for years, don't ask, don't tell. Mm-hmm. But all of a sudden they got rid of it. And it's like, it's tell. All gays want to do, they want everybody to know that they're gay. Mm-hmm. It's shouted from the mountaintop now, and it's like, okay, big deal.
Yeah.
Do your job. Really, that's the thing. Okay, good for you. Do your job.
Well,
we don't care. It's almost like, being gay has become a get out of jail free card.
Yeah.
That, in other words, for example, it's like, equal opportunity, or whereas being black lowered the standard, right?
Yeah.
In other words, to be hired to do your job, you had to go easy on black people. You lowered the standard to get in, entry exams, and you couldn't fire a black person if they didn't do as well,
right,
perform as well. And it's almost like same thing with a gay person. You have to have more leniency towards the gay individual than a normal person. And so it's almost like we wear it out here so that, I'm untouchable.
Well, they don't want equal rights. They want special rights.
Exactly.
And here's the thing. I've been married over 40 years, the same wonderful woman. But as far as our intimacy, it's not your business. In fact, if I talk about it, I cheapen it, because it's that intimacy of something that's shared within a relationship that you don't talk about it unless you really demean it. Okay.
Can you imagine somebody out there saying, yes, I'm a whoremonger.
Yeah.
Or
Eddie, I don't know what kinks my neighbors are into.
Right.
Okay. I don't want to know what kinky stuff they're into.
Right.
It's just by extension, that's what, if I got a couple of neighbors who were, I had two women living in the cul-de-sac that, it was obvious because they made it obvious to everybody that they were a lesbian couple. But whenever they had a need, hey, let me help you.
I'm the same.
And I was the best neighbor they had.
I'm the same. My next door neighbor is lesbian, and we're best friends. She helps me all the time. She fixed my garage door. I didn't know.
There you go.
That's how we became best buddies.
Yeah. So, this is the thing. If they don't talk about it, it shouldn't be a deal breaker like it was to your buddy growing up.
No. Yeah.
He was the intolerant one.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. He said, I can't be your friend anymore. I said, are you serious? I wrote him back and I never heard again.
He was the intolerant one.
Yeah.
Because quite honestly, I appreciate the diversity in my neighborhood in all aspects of it, in that, I had a guy from Mexico next door to me, and Christmas Day, I go outside and I'm smells out there. Pedro, what's that smell? He says, it's Christmas. Yeah, but what's that smell? He says, Christmas. I said, what are you doing in your backyard? He says, I'm roasting a goat. Because it's Christmas. Well, I learned a little bit about Mexican culture from him.
Yeah.
You learn more from people who are different from you.
Yeah.
People who are just like
you. With me, it's menudo. Menudo, the New Year's Day dish.
Really?
Menudo is tripe. It's the lining of a cow stomach.
Oh, God.
It's like chitterlings for some of you that.
Was that your mother's culture?
No, it's Mexican.
Oh, so you kind of adopted that.
Well, it's from El Paso.
Yeah, but I mean, I love going to Ziggy's. I remember Helmut's Alpine Kitchen, best German food. And, there are things,
Bloodwurst.
You're just they screwed me up by the name, okay?
Yeah, bloodwurst. They still have bloodwurst at Ziggy's.
Yeah.
Blood sausage. It's like head cheese, hog head cheese, but it's cooked in blood and it's purple. It's still and they cut it sliced. You can get it like sausage, like lunch meat. It's lunch meat, but it's blood and it cooked blood.
Yeah.
And with chunks of hog head in it.
So if you like hot dogs, don't ask what's in them.
yeah, really.
Yeah. So, but it's okay. It's actually good for us to have that kind of diversity. Growing up, my hometown, I was reading some old archives of the local newspaper, and it said that the Swedish Lutheran Church, that was the name, Swedish Lutheran, after 40 years as a congregation, held the first English language Sunday service after 40 years. So we've been through this before, people, where a big bunch of our community didn't speak our language.
Right.
And God, I just wish in high school I would have taken Spanish instead of French.
I took Spanish.
Good for you.
3 times. and still can't speak it. It's like you won't say. It's weird. I can speak German, like, I'm fluent in German. I cannot, and French is even worse, but I took French too, but I cannot retain Spanish. It just will not stick.
German is radically different from the Romanic language. By Romanic, I mean Rome, Romance. Spain, France, Romania. Italy. Of Rome means.
Right.
That's what Spanish, French.
The whole southern part of Europe.
Yeah.
Right.
But German is
Dutch and German different. Dutch and German. I picked up Dutch like that, and they're not the same. Trust me, Dutch and German are not the same language.
Yeah.
But I can speak those, but Spanish just doesn't want to retain.
Yeah.
So what else you got, David?
Well, this global fascism. I was listening to Tucker had a guy on, liberal reporter, who now actually is professor at University of Texas in Austin. And he's just talking about what we're seeing in social media, what they did to Trump, what they did to Alex Jones. It's a global thing.
Oh, yeah.
The founder of the networking mobile communications Telegram got arrested in France because somebody used his platform to commit a crime. Therefore, for creating that platform, he's complicit. That's what they're trying to do. It ain't that. That's what they're using. But in reality is he won't bend the knee to the globalists who really are on an effort to suppress free speech.
Right.
And the head of the Supreme Court in Brazil, who's now really become the dictator of Brazil, he has he's gone after Elon Musk. And because people are using Twitter or X to criticize him.
Well, but isn't it more than that? Hasn't he put his satellite up there to allow them to be able to communicate? I think that's the... Elon has this satellite system.
Skylink.
No, Skylink. Yeah. And I think it's Skylink that is a extra governmental communication system that people are using to communicate, and the subversives, which would be the anti-government.
But there are a whole bunch of people who have been banned in Brazil from all social media because they're criticizing the government.
Right.
Or criticizing this particular Supreme Court justice. And China didn't even make pretenses about it. Facebook still isn't allowed in China. And Mark Zuckerberg has done everything to roll over and kowtow to the globalists in suppressing free speech. You see it happening with YouTube. I wonder how long we're going to be. Is our live feed cut yet? And what Facebook was doing at the heyday of it was in 2021, where just about everything you post on politics if it makes a leftist look bad, it would get flagged. And the only complaint they had is it lacks context, necessary context. In other words, if you report something that's awful for the left and you don't make it look good for them, then you lack context because you didn't give the leftist spin. And so it's a real problem.
Yeah.
And I think we are really at a point here where we got critical mass. You've got John Kerry. Remember, he was one of those Vietnam War protesters. He was a darling of the hippie leftist anti-war movement. And he was one of the biggest tyrants pro-war. It's just these people.
You mean anti-war?
No, now he's very pro-war.
Yeah, right. He was anti-war. Now he's pro-war.
Yeah,
right.
He was Secretary of State that helped push this whole Arab Spring thing.
Right. And he's pro helping Ukraine. He's pro.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Anti-Russia.
Continuing to
Attack
fund the
Russia.
war.
Right.
Yeah. They're for all the wars except what Israel's doing.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And so you've got all these people that just, you have to wonder what the heck happened. And Eddie, it comes down to this axiom. Some attribute to Lincoln. I don't think anymore that is Lincoln. He says, just about anybody can handle adversity. You really want to find out the character. Give them power. You'll find out what kind of person they are. We see it in Republican Party politics all the time. People fighting to throw out, whoever the county chair or the state chair is. And then they get in and they're probably as bad or worse of a tyrant than the one they want to overthrow for being a tyrant.
I wonder what's going to happen with me at City Hall.
I'm so excited. I was talking down at...
Am I going to be a tyrant?
At Type Rose. There's another...
Oh, yeah, you were down
Republican young guy, Anthony Archie. And I just said, Anthony, because I'm supporting him. I live in his district. I got to vote for somebody.
Right.
I said,
another black Republican.
I just want 2 black Republican men on there telling these leftist liberal women in North Tulsa, you don't speak for us black men.
Well, how about these white liberal women in South Tulsa? Yeah,
white, black, I don't care what.
Yeah, right.
But it's just like, you don't speak for us. And because all of their solutions empower bigger government. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing you want to be careful of.
Right.
They'll say, oh, we got to fix this and that. Well, what's your solution? Kind of like we said last week with the Music Man, buy band uniforms for me. Yeah. So anyway, we've got all of that going on. We had a hurricane, another one hit Florida.
Man, yeah.
Hit Florida.
And North Carolina, right?
Well, the first one hit North Carolina.
Right. We never really discussed that because the devastation, especially up in Asheville, up there, in Asheville, North Carolina, and that's, Appalachia, it hit Appalachia. And I mean, the devastation and it's funny because Biden and Harris just been AWOL.
Well, FEMA, it ran out of gasoline powered chainsaws.
Well, and then they've run out of money. And because all the money apparently has been Mayorkas have been diverted to immigrants.
Right. Yeah. They're using it for human trafficking instead.
Human trafficking.
Yes.
Well, okay. I know what you're explain what you mean by that.
Well, they would go to Haiti and this with charter jets. Are you suffering here? Are you persecuted? Get on a plane. We'll take you up here.
Right. As opposed to sex trafficking, human sex trafficking, slave.
It's all human trafficking.
I know, but most people, when you say human trafficking, it means
that's the connotation.
Right. I just want to be
just like when you say incest, they assume a little girl whose dad's raping her. No, it could be 35-year-old siblings having consensual sex, and that's still incest.
Exactly.
People get these connotations.
Right. But let's be clear here that human trafficking, what you're saying, is the government flying immigrants into America.
And they're literally violating our statutory law in doing it.
Yes, but it's not sex trafficking.
I didn't say sex trafficking.
I know, but that's what people think.
That's their confusion.
And I'm making sure you're not confused. I'm on your side. I've got you. I've got you, people.
Okay.
All right.
But it's trafficking.
Yes.
And hey, Springfield, Ohio has plenty of cats in the neighborhood, but this is what they use the money for.
Eating the cats.
Now, it
dogs.
could be that they just ran out of gas-powered, home light chainsaws, or it could be that they wanted to go. They got these electric chainsaws. They sent to North Carolina, to a town where there's no power in the whole town, but we got electric chainsaws for you to clear the trees off of the power line so you can restore the power. This is the asinine thing. They just, and here's the height of it. Now we understand why Kamala Harris spent 5 weeks totally avoiding the press. Because as soon as she opens her mouth, oh my God. Do you hear she badmouthed Governor DeSantis? Trashed him because he didn't take her call. DeSantis said, I have no records.
Well,
Kamala Harris, the vice president.
Right, but he doesn't need to take her call.
Right. He said, you're not part of the chain of command.
Right.
And he said, but honestly, he says, I asked my staff, we don't have record of you trying to call.
Yeah. She probably didn't. But even if she did, he doesn't need to take her call. He needs to speak to the president. The president speaks to the governor. That's who speaks to it.
Because the president who signs off on emergency orders for relief, it has to be a request from the governor. So she wanted to look presidential.
Yeah, sure she did.
That's all this was about.
That's all it was about.
Image.
Right.
And the gal is screwing up every which way.
Yeah.
So anyway, we got her wish. She started talking and it's collapsing. So, but you know what? She was failing when she was keeping her mouth shut because then Donald Trump controlled all the narrative. See?
Well, no matter what she does, she's at a liability to herself.
How bad's OU going to lose today?
Oh, I don't know. I think that Texas could be overly confident and OU might win.
What should the score be?
What should it be?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're asking the wrong person. The score should be 28-21 OU.
Okay. There is one big if in this whole thing. OU benched their quarterback and started a true freshman that looks amazing.
Yeah. See, I hate that, though. I hate that.
If he could stay healthy, it could be a game changer. But he's not that big, and we haven't tested how bad he can take a hit and still get up.
Yeah, and still at the same time, though, see, when you get rid of a guy that quick, you've just killed the confidence in him. Because, see, he had already played 4 games, and then all of a sudden you undermine him because he has an off game. And then you bring this guy in, and he looks good for that game. But what are you really doing? So you're
discovering Caleb Williams is what you're doing. That's exactly what happened with Caleb.
Maybe.
But
maybe.
Potentially.
Well, I mean, if it pans out, great. If it works out that way, I guess I just feel sorry for the guy who ends up, because, maybe it's the media. I'm so sick of the sports media. It's worse than the political media. Because what do? They keep showing the camera, the other kid on the sideline pacing.
Yeah.
And, and you're sitting there and he's just dying because, I've been benched for this guy. Will I ever be able to play again? His parents are going through agony on all of his friends. Spencer
Rattler went through it.
He did.
But he recovered well.
Well, has he really?
Well, he had a great last year at South Carolina?
It was an okay last year, and it was South Carolina. So, let's not overblow it. And where is he now, and where's Caleb Williams now?
I think he's still on an NFL roster.
He's on a roster, but where's Caleb Williams?
Well, he's starting. He's the #1 draft pick.
Hello.
Right. But Caleb was a good move.
Well, yes, I understand. I understand that. Okay, I understand. But again, I'm just saying I hated for the other kid.
Yeah.
And be honest with you, I did not like the Caleb Williams move initially. The second year, or towards the end, when I saw how phenomenal Caleb was, then I was a believer, and I was a believer when he went to Southern Cal. Although everybody else at OU
hated him
for it, I'm still a huge fan. I was a huge fan at USC.
Yeah.
Because I just appreciated his gift. I just knew how great he was.
I was mad at you. How dare you root for him?
Yeah, my wife's the same. My wife still, but she would refuse to watch any of the games.
But look, I remember a young Jalen Hurts, great guy, and all of a sudden he gets benched. I'm like, why?
At Alabama.
At Alabama.
Yeah. But see, that's one of the reasons I got so upset with everybody, because, OU did it to Texas A&M. They did it to Texas Tech. They did it to Alabama. They got Kyler. Well, first
Baker
came from Tech. Then they got Kyler from A&M. Then they get Jalen from Alabama. Oh, happy day, wonderful. Oh, great. We're and then they lose one to USC. Oh, how dare, so I'm saying, come on, people, you got three and you lose one and the world's coming to, and you hate them. It's the worst thing. These are horrible.
Well, we didn't just lose our quarterback. We lost our head coach.
Well, yeah, but still, I mean, same thing. I mean, now this last one, I think was even worse, the way the Dylan Gabriel one happened, to Oregon.
He went for the money.
Yeah, he went for the money.
Straight up
right, sure. And I'm sure Caleb, same thing. But Caleb went to follow his coach. That's what happened there. They had a good, what do you call it?
Offense coordinator?
No, it was. I can't think of his name now. The USC coach.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But him. But anyway, but I just don't. I want you to be consistent.
Yeah.
If you're upset that somebody steals your guy,
I'm not upset. I'm not cheering for him anymore.
You're talking about Caleb.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then you shouldn't have cheered for him, or you shouldn't have cheered for Kyler or Jalen or anybody when they were taken from Alabama.
Well, it's like he's my team, so I'm cheering for my team. I'm cheering for the franchise.
Okay, yeah, okay. Well, that's good.
That's just a franchise.
But don't dog them and talk about how horrible they are now. Because and listen, even what's his name, the coach, him, he got a boatload more money. He gets used to this private jet. I mean, it ended up being a multi-million dollar deal.
Right.
And he's young. He's got a future ahead of him. Why, and from what I understand, what really did it, he hates the SEC. That was
Lincoln.
Yeah. Thank you. Right. Lincoln Riley. That he just did not want to go to the SEC. And that was the
or he didn't want to be judged by that standard. Could he compete there? Because that is the toughest competition.
Well, yeah. Is it or is it the Big Ten? I mean, Big Ten.
Well, that's where he's at now.
Yeah, I know. And he's being tested and found wanting.
Yeah. But here's the thing, you see, now we can judge Spencer Rattler versus Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
Okay. They're both NFL. Now, if you take Tua Tagovailoa and Jalen Hurts, I think Jalen has showed far more performance.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely.
And so you have to question, really, was it smart for Alabama to bench Jalen?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I have to say,
see,
there's college football and there's pro football.
Well, and it's also the type of offense you run.
That's it.
See that how do you fit?
Yeah. I mean, J.C. Watts was awesome with the wishbone, but it didn't translate to the pros.
Exactly. And you look at Kyler. Why would Kyler leave A&M? What would have happened to Kyler had he stayed at A&M?
I thought he was a baseball guy.
Well, he was both. He was like Mahomes. Mahomes was baseball and football.
Right. But I remember the whole issue was if he's going to be quarterback, he's going to have to prioritize football over baseball. And that was, at first, that was kind of an
see, that's how Mahomes ended up at Texas Tech. Texas wanted him, but they wanted him to quit baseball.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't do it. And so that's why he ended up at Tech. Kingsbury told him, no, you can play both. Smart move, because he figured out that eventually he's going to want to quit baseball anyway. And he did his junior year. He quit that last year, and the rest is history. But anyway, Kyler ended up leaving and came to OU, and the rest is history. Heisman Trophy winner. I mean, it was the right move at that time.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing is coaching. We're still, the jury is still out right now in Venable.
Yeah.
And that's another thing I have to kind of get on the OU fans. They're so quick to throw somebody under the bus.
Yeah. I've always been a big fan of Venables.
Yeah. And, listen, it's a transition. Every transition from a coach that you just love to the next guy.
Yeah.
Or next two guys is tough. Look how long it took him, to get to Stoops. They had to go through.
God, they had some horrible guys.
Oh, I know.
Talking to Dave Rader the other day, the only time a TU team went to Owen Field and beat OU in their own field with a bunch of guys who are barely Division I.
It's tough when in fact, Alabama, right? They got the guy from Washington who just almost won a national championship last year. And then he comes to Alabama. What does he do? He loses, to Tennessee there.
Yeah, wow.
And so, I know the people there are just screaming. And then Tennessee loses the next week, right? They lost.
Was it A&M or Ole Miss?
I think it was A&M. It wasn't Ole Miss. I think it was A&M, which is really weird.
Yeah, that was because they weren't ranked.
No. So it's, by the way, we've switched to sports people. Yeah. So those of you that are into sports, you may want to tune out.
Oh, by the way, was it the Jets just fired their head coach?
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
I hadn't even heard.
Yeah, it was funny because I heard Aaron Rodgers saying, so I believe in my team and I believe in our leadership. And I'm like, why are you saying this? And I'm like, there must be some turmoil going on. Sure enough, 2 days later, they fired after the Jets lost. And, you don't see that, do you, in college sports where coaches get fired in the middle of the season? That's rare, isn't it?
Well, yeah, because they can't get a new one that quick, because all the coaches' contracts go through the end of the year. So you'll find it as soon as the season's over. That's what's so weird is with colleges at the end of the season, before the bowl games, it's always a problem because a new coach will be hired at a new school, but does he stay for the bowl game or not?
Yeah, they usually, in fact, I remember who's the guy, this is basketball, it was Michigan, and the coach left to go to Arizona before the NCAA tournament. And he still thought that he was going to coach Michigan in the tournament. And he said, no, you've already left. And that's when they gave Fisher, the assistant coach, his shot. And he won the national championship. Fisher did.
Oh, wow.
And it was, Lou, famous coach from from Arizona. But anyway, it's funny. You're right. They do bring up an assistant when it's mid-season, especially that between regular season and postseason.
Right. They'll rarely fire a coach mid-season.
Well, and the other thing in college coaching is they'll have these guaranteed contracts for many years in advance. And if somebody comes in wanting to hire your coach, they have to pay your school all the rest of that contract.
Right, before they,
And so the coaches make themselves more expensive by doing these deals, where, okay, you want to take me away, it's going to cost you $12-15 million to pay for my next 6 years of my contract.
That's something about, like, it reminds me of Mike Leach.
Yeah.
Mike Leach, they fired him before the Alamo Bowl, and they didn't have to pay him $1 million by doing that. But he sued him saying, no, that wasn't legit.
Right.
But the way they got out of it in Texas, you can't sue a government entity, and the university is a government entity. They still have that law in Texas that you cannot sue the government unless the government allows you to sue them.
Yeah.
And so they didn't allow it. And so he could not bring a case against them because they didn't allow it. It's the stinkiest rule. I mean, it's like, a Civil War time still.
So, this is something, and I'll try to be real quick on this, but such an important constitutional principle, liberty. Growing up in Minnesota, I did not know what initiative petition was. Where the voters can circulate a petition in support of a law. They get enough signatures, it goes on the next ballot. And it becomes law, circumventing the governor and all the legislature.
Right.
The people say, no, we are exercising our right to dismiss all of you and put this law in, and you're forced with it. Texas must not have initiative petition. Only 24 of the 50 states have it, in Oklahoma being one of them. And some of our greatest reforms have happened that way. Some of our biggest mistakes too. But anyway, it is a way, because I remember after 788 passed, the medical marijuana, I'm at the Capitol and talking to all these lawmakers, and there was a certain humility they had because they would not pass that law that the people then went and passed. Same thing happened when expanded Medicaid. The legislature wouldn't do that, but the people voted for it. And there's a certain amount of reproof that happens, or at least a humility of the people have spoken, and it's up to me to get in line with the people I represent. No, I
agree. I agree.
Minnesota doesn't have that, and it's a very statist government thinking, we know what's best for you, and we will be the arbiters of that. And I think Texas probably has a little too much of that, because I've never heard of an initiative petition in Texas.
Yeah, no, me either.
California is historic for it, right? They have it, So anyway, that's my thought on it. So, and that's what happened. Leach, if Texas had that, I don't think that law would be there. I think he could have got justice.
Right. Yeah, he never,
because he is screwed over horribly.
Oh yeah, it was terrible. That whole incident was just terrible.
And he ought to sue ESPN, so he ought to sue.
Well, he did sue them, and they settled that one. He won basically out of court, but ESPN and of course they fired, and he never heard. It's funny because
Tillman, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't Tillman. It was I can't remember his name right now. That's
a former SMU guy.
One of the Pony Express, one of the guys who got the death penalty at SMU.
Wasn't Craig, was it?
Craig.
James Craig?
Craig James.
Craig James.
And he lost his job at ESPN. And then he was running for office.
Yeah.
He was running for a state senate. And his son really ruined him and everything. And because he's the one who put the story on ESPN.
Yeah.
And after that, it just ruined everything for everybody. So that's the rest is history, though. Well, listen, I think that's going to do it for today.
Yeah. There's a proverb I was going to leave it. It said, about if you don't discipline your kids when they grow up, they'll bring shame and reproach to your whole family. And I think that's exactly what we saw there.
Yeah.
Spoiled brat kid.
Yeah. Hey, sorry, we apologize. We were supposed to have Commissioner Keith today. Yep. She couldn't make it for whatever reason. She says, I have my own thoughts on that. But
I have one other thing to say. I said, hey, I get this, Karen. I said, if you can, next few days, make some time available, if Eddie and I can arrange it, we'll just come down here for an hour and do the episode. That's how badly we want to hear from you.
Right. So we'll see it. We'll see if she does.
And that was yesterday. And I checked just before the show. I have not received a text from her on that. So,
okay.
And she wouldn't be the only one who's afraid to do a sit down if that is the case. I'm not saying it is, but there's other people I've invited, people I think highly of, and they're still scared to death. And they actually, one of them said, I'm not worried about you guys, but I'm worried about what I say to you guys that'll get spun and misquoted and taken out of context by somebody else.
Okay.
So,
but in light of all of that, we still expect and hope to see Monroe Nichols in here this next week. But I think it's going to be later, correct?
Yeah. If you're watching live, expect us around 1:00.
Right.
Because he has a commitment that he had already made, and then he's coming over here after.
Right. Unless we reschedule it for like during the week, a Friday or something like that. How can we notify? How will people be able to find out well, either way, it'll be on the website. You can check out.
If you actually have a podcasting app on your phone, it automatically dings and notifies you when there is a new episode.
Right.
And so that you will know that way. By the way, on podcasts, I got to say, right now, the server handling our files, they've been under huge global attack, and they've had to shut down. They posted up on X. They said, look, our data is all safe, but right now we have to lock everything down and put in safeguards and this is a massive, huge server. If I said the name, you would know. But so today's show, I'm going to put up on a different server. You'll still get it in your same feed and everything. I'm just pulling it from a different file location. So that explains why you can't bring up last week's show right now. It's just on the wrong server. So, and I'll probably, if I can, grab last week's, put it on the new server so you've got it. But the following week, Eddie, we have city councilor incumbent Jamie Fowler.
Jamie Fowler will be here the following week.
Yeah, a great guy. The guy has a amazing understanding of constitutional law that I really appreciate in a city council.
So a couple of exciting weeks ahead, and we hope you all have a great week ahead as well. And thank you for tuning in.
All right. You guys have a great day.
Take care.
Bye.
Looks like stormy weather forever, and they'll never see the light of day. All in silence kept on singing.